The time frame you are trading on is not your problem. I know that is not what you want to hear. You clicked on this video because you want someone to tell you that the 5-minute chart is better than the daily, or that swing trading is superior to scalping, or that there is some magical time frame where the signals are cleaner and the losses hurt less. There is not, and the fact that you are even asking this question tells me something far more important about your trading than any chart ever could. It tells me you are running. You are not searching for the best time frame. You are searching for an escape from the emotional discomfort of the time frame you are already on. Mark Douglas spent decades working with traders who were convinced their problem was technical, the wrong indicator, the wrong strategy, the wrong time frame. And what he discovered again and again was that the problem was never the tool. The problem was the person holding the tool. The problem was what they believed about themselves, about the market, and about what trading was supposed to feel like. And that is what we are going to talk about today. Not which time frame is best. That question has no answer. Instead, I am going to show you why you keep switching, what your time frame choice actually reveals about your psychology, and how to finally commit to one, not because it is perfect, but because commitment itself is the skill you are missing. And if you have ever wondered whether there is a way to actually track what is happening inside you while you trade, your emotional state, your recurring mistakes, the belief patterns you cannot see in the moment, something like the Speculator's Journal exists for exactly that reason. The link is in the description. But stay with me here first, because understanding why you keep switching is more important than any tool. Let me describe your trading career so far, and you tell me if this sounds familiar. You started on the lower time frames, maybe the 1-minute chart, maybe the 5. It felt exciting. The price was moving, candles were printing, and you felt like you were in control. You were making decisions, you were doing something, and then the losses started piling up. Not because the setups were bad, some of them were textbook, but because the speed of the market on those time frames overwhelmed you emotionally. You could not think fast enough. You could not stay calm enough. Every tick against you felt like a personal attack. So you moved up, you went to the 15-minute chart, or the 1 hour. And for a while, it felt better. The noise calmed down, you had more time to think. But then a new problem appeared, boredom. You were sitting there, waiting, watching the chart do nothing, and your mind started inventing reasons to take trades that were not there. You started forcing setups, or worse, you went back to the 5-minute chart just to check, and before you knew it, you were scalping again. Maybe you moved up again, the 4-hour, the daily, and now you felt like you were not really trading. The trades were too infrequent, the stops were too wide. You could not stand watching a trade go against you for 2 days before it worked. So you tightened your stop, you got stopped out, and you told yourself this time frame was wrong too. How many times have you done this? How many times have you convinced yourself that the problem was the chart when the problem was what you felt while looking at it? Mark Douglas observed this pattern in trader after trader throughout his career, this restless migration from one time frame to the next, always believing the next one would be different, never recognizing that they were carrying the same unresolved beliefs and emotional reactions with them everywhere they went. He understood it for what it was, an avoidance mechanism disguised as optimization, and that is exactly what it is. You are not optimizing, you are avoiding. You are avoiding the emotional experience of sitting with uncertainty on any single time frame long enough to actually learn how to trade it. Now, I know what you were thinking. You were thinking, no, I really did find that the daily chart works better for me. Maybe, but let me ask you this. Did you give the previous time frame a real chance? Did you trade it for 90 days with consistent rules, without switching? Or did you abandon it after 2 bad weeks because it did not feel right? Because there is a difference between a time frame being wrong for you and a time frame being uncomfortable for you, and most traders cannot tell the difference. Here is the lie you have been told, that the best time frame is the one with the highest win rate, the cleanest signals, or the best risk to reward ratio. That sounds logical. It sounds like something a smart person would believe. And that is why it is so dangerous, because it frames time frame selection as a technical problem. And it is not a technical problem, it is a psychological one. The truth is this, the best time frame for you is the one where you can execute your rules consistently without emotional interference. That is it. That is the entire answer. Not the one with the prettiest setups. Not the one your favorite guru trades. The one where you can follow your plan, take your stops, let your winners run, and do it all without your hands shaking or your stomach turning or your ego screaming at you to do something different? Mark Douglas built his entire body of work around this exact insight that a trader's edge is never located in their analysis. It is located in their ability to execute without internal conflict. The signals do not matter if you cannot pull the trigger. The setup does not matter if you move your stop every time the trade goes against you. And the time frame does not matter if it puts you in an emotional state where you cannot behave like the trader you need to be. Think about it like this. Imagine two runners. One is built for sprints, explosive, fast twitch, high intensity. The other is built for marathons, steady, enduring, paced. Now imagine you tell the sprinter to run a marathon. They will fail. Not because marathons are bad, not because they lack talent, but because the event does not match their wiring. They will burn out at mile 6 and quit. That is what you are doing when you trade a time frame that does not match your psychological wiring. You are a sprinter trying to run a marathon, or a marathon runner trying to sprint, and then blaming the race instead of recognizing the mismatch. So the question is not which time frame is best. The question is which time frame allows me to be the most disciplined version of myself. And answering that question requires a kind of honesty that most traders are not willing to engage in. Let me give you a framework for answering that question. Not a guess, not a feeling. A structured process that strips away the noise and gives you clarity. Let me talk about the first practice, the emotional audit. This is non-negotiable. Before you can choose the right time frame, you need to understand what each one does to you emotionally. Not what it does to your P&L, what it does to your nervous system. Because your nervous system is what determines your behavior, and your behavior is what determines your results. Here is exactly how you do this. You are going to trade each time frame you are considering, and I mean actually trade it, not just look at charts for a minimum of 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, after every single trading session, you are going to write down 3 things. First, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed were you during the session? Not after, during. Second, how many times during the session did you feel the urge to break a rule, move a stop, take a trade that was not in your plan, close a winner early? Count them. Third, at the end of the session, did you feel drained or did you feel neutral? Not excited, neutral. The goal is neutral. Let me give you an example. You trade the 15-minute chart for 2 weeks. Your average stress level is a 7. You felt the urge to break a rule an average of 4 times per session. At the end of most sessions, you felt drained. Then you trade the 4-hour chart for 2 weeks. Your average stress is a 4. You felt the urge to break a rule once per session. At the end of most sessions, you felt calm. The 4-hour chart is your time frame. Not because the signals are better, because you can behave better on it. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking that stress is just part of trading and you need to toughen up. But that is your ego talking, not your brain. Stress is not a badge of honor. Stress is a signal that your environment is exceeding your capacity to respond rationally. And when you trade in that state, you do not make decisions, you react. You become the trader who revenge trades, who doubles down, who closes winners at break even, because the relief of not losing feels better than the possibility of winning more. The psychology behind this is straightforward. When your stress response is activated, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational, rule-based decisions, gets overridden by your amygdala, which is wired for survival, not probability thinking. A time frame that chronically triggers your stress response is a time frame that chronically disables your ability to think like a professional trader. This is why choosing a time frame is not choosing a chart. It is choosing the emotional environment in which you will operate every single day. And if that environment is hostile to clear thinking, no strategy on earth will save you. Now let me talk about the second practice, the feedback speed test. This is where you get honest about why you really chose the time frame you are on. Most traders gravitate toward lower time frames for one reason: speed of feedback. They want to know quickly whether they are right or wrong. They want the dopamine hit of a fast winner. They want the feeling of constant engagement. They want to feel like they are doing something. And this is a trap, because the need for fast feedback is not a trading preference, it is an addiction pattern. It is the same mechanism that makes slot machines more addictive than poker. Slots give you instant results. Poker makes you wait, think, endure uncertainty, the slot machine player is not more skilled because they play faster. They are more addicted. So here is the test. Ask yourself honestly, did you choose your time frame because it suits your strategy or because it satisfies your need to feel busy? If you cannot sit and watch a 4-hour chart without feeling antsy, that is not a reason to trade the 5-minute chart. That is a reason to examine why stillness makes you uncomfortable. Because that discomfort, that inability to sit with nothing happening, is the same emotional force that will cause you to overtrade, force setups, and abandon your plan. Let me be very specific. If you are currently trading the 1-minute or 5-minute chart, I want you to do something this week. Open a daily chart of the same instrument you trade. Just look at it. Do not trade it. Just look at it for 15 minutes. Notice what happens in your body. Notice if you feel bored, restless, anxious. Notice if your mind starts telling you that this is a waste of time, that you are missing opportunities on the lower time frame. Write that down. That reaction is data. That reaction is telling you something about your relationship with uncertainty and patience, and that relationship is more predictive of your trading results than any indicator you have ever used. This connects directly back to what we discussed earlier. The time frame that makes you feel like you are doing nothing might be the time frame where you actually do something right. Because doing nothing, waiting, sitting, enduring the boredom of a trade that has not triggered yet is the hardest and most valuable skill in trading. But there is something even more important than the speed of your feedback. Let me explain. Let me talk about the third practice, the belief alignment check. This one goes deeper than the first two, and it matters more than both of them combined. Every trader carries a set of beliefs about the market. Most of these beliefs are unconscious. You do not think about them, you do not question them. They just operate in the background, shaping every decision you make. And your time frame choice is downstream of these beliefs, whether you realize it or not. Here's what I mean. If you believe deep down that the market is out to get you, that it moves against you personally, that stop hunts are aimed at your position, you will gravitate toward shorter time frames because they give you the illusion of control. You can get in and get out fast. You can limit your exposure. You are not really trading, you are defending yourself. If you believe that you need to be right on every trade, you will avoid longer time frames because the longer a trade is open, the more time it has to prove you wrong. The daily chart forces you to sit with a losing position for days. Your ego cannot handle that. So you drop down to the 5-minute chart where you can be right 12 times a day, even if each win is meaningless. If you believe that hard work equals results, that more screen time, more trades, more analysis means more money, you will gravitate toward the lowest time frame possible because it satisfies your need to feel productive. You equate activity with progress, and on the 5-minute chart, you are always active, always busy, always working, but activity is not progress. So here is the practice. Write down, right now, your 3 deepest beliefs about the market and about what it takes to succeed as a trader. Do not write what you think the right answer is. Write what you actually believe. Then look at each belief and ask yourself, does this belief push me toward a specific time frame? And if so, is it pushing me there for the right reasons or because the belief itself is flawed? I, Mark Douglas, can tell you this with absolute certainty after decades of working with traders. Most traders who are on the wrong time frame are not there because of bad analysis. They are there because of bad beliefs. And until you examine those beliefs, no amount of time frame switching will help you. Let me give you an example. A trader, and this is a pattern I've seen 1,000 times, believes that more analysis leads to better trades. This belief pushes them toward the 5-minute chart, where they can analyze dozens of setups per day. They feel productive, they feel thorough, but their results are mediocre because the constant analysis is actually a form of procrastination. It gives them the feeling of trading without the emotional risk of committing to a trade and letting it work. When this trader finally examines the belief and asks, is more analysis actually producing better results, or is it just making me feel better? And answers honestly. They often discover that their best trades came on the rare occasions when they looked at a daily chart, saw a clean setup, took it, and walked away. The belief was wrong. The time frame was a symptom. This is where something like the Speculator's Journal becomes genuinely valuable because it gives you a way to see these belief patterns laid out over time, not just in the heat of the moment when you cannot think clearly, but afterward when the data reveals what was actually driving your decisions, the kind of structured self-observation that Mark Douglas could only ask traders to do through sheer willpower and honesty, now made visible in a way he never had a tool for. The link is in the description if you want to look into it. But the point is not the tool. The point is that you need a mechanism for seeing yourself clearly, and most traders have nothing. Now let me talk about the fourth practice, the commitment protocol. This is where everything changes. And this is the one most traders will refuse to do, which is exactly why it works. Here is the rule. You are going to choose one time frame and trade it exclusively for 90 days. No switching, no checking other time frames. No comparing your results to what you would have made on a different chart. One time frame, 90 days. This is non-negotiable. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, but what if I pick the wrong one? And that question reveals the core problem. You are still looking for the right answer. You are still trying to optimize. And that optimization instinct is the very thing that is preventing you from developing the consistency you need. Here is the psychology behind this commitment. Every time you switch time frames, you reset your learning curve. You think you are making progress because you are gathering information. But information is not skill. Skill comes from repetition within a stable environment. When you change the environment every 2 weeks, you never develop the pattern recognition, the emotional regulation, or the behavioral consistency that turns a strategy into a skill. Think of it like this. Imagine learning to play tennis. You practice your serve for 2 weeks on a hard court. Then someone tells you clay courts are better, so you switch. You play for 2 weeks and struggle because the ball bounces differently. Then someone says grass courts are where the real players train. You switch again. After 6 months, you have played on every surface but mastered none. Your serve is inconsistent because your body never adapted to a single environment long enough for the skill to become automatic. That is what time frame hopping does to your trading brain. Every time frame produces different patterns of emotional experience. Different holding times, different stop sizes, different frequencies of wins and losses. Your brain needs time to calibrate to those patterns before it can respond to them without panic or euphoria. 90 days is the minimum for that calibration to occur. Here is exactly how you do this. At the start of your 90 days, you write down 3 things. My time frame, my strategy rules on this time frame, and the maximum number of trades I will take per day or per week. You print this out. You put it next to your screen. Every morning before you trade, you read it aloud. Not silently, aloud. Because speaking the commitment engages a different part of your brain than reading it. It makes the commitment feel real. During the 90 days, you track one additional metric beyond your normal trade journal. After each session, you write down, did I feel the urge to switch time frames today? Yes or no? If yes, what triggered it? Over 90 days, this log will reveal something extraordinary. You will see that the urge to switch is almost always triggered by losing streaks, not by genuine analysis that your time frame is wrong, by emotional discomfort that your ego wants to escape. And when you see that pattern, when you see it in your own handwriting, undeniably, in black and white, you will understand something that will change your trading forever. The urge to switch is the signal to stay. Let me say that again, because it matters. The urge to switch is the signal to stay. When every cell in your body is telling you that this time frame is wrong, that you need to try something else, that the answer is somewhere else, that is the moment where growth happens. That is the moment where you are building the emotional muscle that separates professional traders from everyone else. And if you leave that moment, if you switch, you lose the only thing that was actually going to help you. Now let me talk about the 5th and final practice, identity anchoring. This is the deepest shift, and it is the one that makes everything else permanent. Most traders define themselves by their results. I am a profitable trader, or I am a struggling trader. This is dangerous because it ties your identity to something you cannot control, whether the next trade wins or loses. And when your identity is threatened, you panic. You abandon your rules. You switch time frames. You do whatever it takes to protect the story you have about who you are. What I want you to do instead is define yourself by your time frame and your process. Not, I am a profitable trader, but I am a daily chart trader who follows a defined set of rules. That is an identity you can live up to every single day, regardless of whether you made money. You can lose money and still be that person. You can have a drawdown and still be that person, because the identity is behavioral, not outcome-based. Here is how you anchor this. Every morning, before you open your charts, you say this to yourself, and I mean say it, not think it. I am your time frame trader. I take only the setups defined by my rules. I accept whatever the market gives me on this time frame. I do not switch, I do not chase, I execute and I observe. You are probably thinking, this sounds silly. You are probably thinking that talking to yourself before you trade is not going to move the needle. But I can tell you from decades of working with traders that the ones who anchor their identity and behavior before they expose themselves to the emotional chaos of the market are the ones who survive. Not because the words are magic, because the act of speaking them reorients your brain away from outcomes and toward process before the session even begins. And this connects back to everything we have talked about. The time frame is not the strategy. The time frame is the container. It is the environment in which your discipline either thrives or collapses. And the right environment is not the one where you make the most money. It is the one where you can be the most consistent version of yourself day after day without burning out, without panicking, and without lying to yourself about why you are switching. Let me bring this together. You do not need to find the perfect time frame. You need to find the time frame where you can execute with the least emotional interference and then commit to it long enough for consistency to become your identity. Here is what that looks like. 1. Do the emotional audit. Trade each candidate time frame for 2 weeks and measure your stress, your rule-breaking urges, and your energy level after each session. 2. Take the feedback speed test. Be honest about whether you chose your current time frame for strategic reasons or because it feeds your need for action and instant validation. 3. Do the belief alignment check. Write down your 3 deepest market beliefs and trace how they push you towards specific time frames for the wrong reasons. 4. Execute the commitment protocol. Choose one time frame and trade it exclusively for 90 days, tracking every urge to switch. 5. Anchor your identity. Define yourself by your time frame and your process, not your results. Speak it every morning before you trade. Do these 5 things. Not when you feel like it, not when the market cooperates, every single day for 90 days. And I promise you, something will shift. Not in your P&L that comes later, in you. In how you feel when you sit down to trade, in how you respond to a loss, in how you respond to a win. The excitement will drain out of your trading. And in its place will be something far more valuable. Calm, neutrality, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are not searching anymore. Because here is what I told you at the beginning, the fact that you are searching for the best time frame is the problem. And 6 months from now, when you are no longer searching, when you have traded one time frame long enough that it feels like home, you will understand what Mark Douglas meant when he taught that the outcome of any single trade must become emotionally irrelevant before a trader can operate with true consistency. You will not feel bored. You will feel free. Because boredom is what freedom feels like when your ego finally stops demanding excitement. Most traders will never get there. Not because they are not smart enough, because they will not stop switching. They will not stop searching. They will keep hopping from time frame to time frame, strategy to strategy, guru to guru, looking for the external answer to an internal problem. You do not have to be most traders. Mark Douglas devoted his life's work to one central conviction, that the barrier between a struggling trader and a consistently profitable one is never information. It is always the willingness to change what you believe about yourself and about the market. The time frame you choose is a small decision. How you show up on that time frame every single day is everything. Choose one, commit, show up, and let the boredom teach you what excitement never could.